Welcome back, everyone, to another Downward Day. And today I'm standing here at the Wright Brothers Memorial in Kill Devil Hills, North Carolina. And the theme of today's video is going to be about progress. Specifically, what I perceive as a lack of progress and a stagnation of progress in recent times. So it was 120 years ago, all the way back in 1903, when the Wright brothers successfully flew the first aircraft here in Kitty Hawk. And of course, the advent of air travel, the advent of being able to fly across the country in a matter of hours, being able to fly to another continent in less than a day. It's certainly one of the great examples of progress, human progress, a technological breakthrough that improves the lives of everyone on the planet, makes everything easier for everyone. The invention of the aircraft is certainly one of the cornerstone examples of human progress, a milestone after which we could be considered more technologically advanced of a species. And the first flight, all the way back in 1903 by the Wright brothers, it actually represents the bookend of perhaps the greatest era of scientific progress in human history. We're just 66 years after we made the first aircraft. We successfully put a man on the moon. We'd gone from air travel to space travel in just 66 years. And today we find ourselves in the 21st century, using tools and the fruits of ingenuity and innovation that were solved during the 20th century. And it seems like all I've been told my whole life is how we're progressing just as fast today, if not faster. How the speed of progress keeps increasing. How the fruits of science and big tech are just continuing to serve the overall human spirit and the overall quality of life for everyone. And sure, that's a really pleasant thought to have. We like to believe that all this billions and billions and trillions of dollars that we're pumping in to scientific research and development to come out with new wonderful products, we like to hope that it's amounting to something. I'd like to hope that it is. But I don't know, man. I don't know. The more and more I interact with the wonderful new technological gifts of the modern age, the more I think that we're not really progressing in anything. I just keep getting told that everything's moving forward, everything's getting better, everything is getting more advanced, and eventually you're just not going to have to worry about anything. And I'm just not really seeing the results of that. As I'm becoming an adult, as I'm starting to enter my late 20s, I'm not really seeing how things are getting better for me here on the ground. So I'm sorry folks out there if you don't want to hear it, but I've been hearing that progress has been happening for my entire life, and I'm just not seeing it. I'm not experiencing it. Because what does progress imply? What does the actual progression of technology imply? It implies, at least I hope, that our standard of living will be made better, and that our lives, our day-to-day lives, and the day-to-day tasks and minutia and busy work we have to perform on a daily basis, it's supposed to get easier. I don't really think that most stuff in our lives today is getting easier, despite the new technology that we're afforded, despite all the progress in the economy that's being reported by news outlets. And every mainstream outlet in the world, every little investor shareholder call, every little politician speech can probably pull 1,000 or so studies out of their ass saying oh look, statistically stuff is going up, the progress is ticking upward. And yeah, I like to believe that it is. Sometimes it gets very hard to do so. Sometimes when you're actually down here, boots on the ground, experiencing the wonderful fruits of technology, it really feels like nothing has changed in the past 10 years. It really feels like we're no further forward as a species than we were in 2013, maybe even 2003. Oh, but Emp, you arrogant fool. Aren't you posting this video on one of the greatest human innovations in the last century, the internet? Don't we have the internet? We have the internet, guys. The internet is definitely making us happier, isn't it? The internet is definitely not worse today in 2023 than it was in 2013 or 2003. And I'll admit the internet has transformed a lot of things, and it's the primary force behind what I get to do for a living. But the majority of the people out there, I feel like their lives aren't really benefited by the internet. In fact, so many people, especially in the United States, in the past 10 years, have been completely, utterly atomized and radicalized by the internet to the point where they probably would have been better off without it. And there's a lot of money in the internet. There's a lot of venture capital in the internet. It's been that way since the late 90s. It's led to stock market crashes of over-speculation and hype. People and stockholders and venture capitalists have been dumping money into the internet for the last 30 years, trying to make the next big thing, touting how important their product is going to be for the world. I think after a while we have to ask ourselves if most social media products actually help us. And I've got an interesting story about social media. Social media, like the biggest innovation apparently in the past 15 years. We get to talk to each other with our phones. We get to send text messages and pictures to each other through slightly different versions of the exact same app. All of the people of the world are expected to be so happy and joyful and grateful that we have social media. Let me tell you something about social media. I've been trying to get back into my Instagram account for 4 years now. And I'm being told it's impossible. You know, they used to tell the Wright brothers that flying an aircraft was impossible. Some experts said that it would take 1 million years before we would invent air travel. And they managed to do it about 50 years after that article was written. You know, we used to think that the grandiose was impossible. We used to think reaching the moon was impossible. And then we did it. Today in the 21st century, it's the opposite. The absolute most mundane, simple requests are impossible. And they're actually impossible. And they're not going to happen. Like flying the first aircraft or landing on the moon. I'm never getting back into my original Instagram account. I've been told there's no way. There's no way. And yeah, part of it was my fault. For some reason, I made the account without linking it to my Facebook account. And for some reason, even though I think I used an email to create it, it doesn't link to the email. And all it links to is a phone number that I changed. And I contacted the carrier, and it's impossible to get the phone number back to log into the account. So that account's just gone forever. All right, so you want to see a perfect example of the wonders of modern technology. All these modern innovations about the progress of technology that we should be so grateful for. This GoPro that I bought less than a year ago, it just randomly stopped recording. Recording videos, the one thing I need it for, the one thing, it just stops, inexplicably. Don't know why, don't know how, no explanation. It could do it again, this time, and I could go on talking for minutes and minutes and minutes without even knowing that I'm just wasting my time. Modern technology, folks, it's almost like it's designed to break down. You know, we have the technology. It has been invented. Everlasting light bulbs. We have the technology to make light bulbs last forever. But in order to satisfy the light bulb industry, we can't have something that would be objectively beneficial to everyone. We can't think of anything in terms of a public good. We have to make sure that everything is optimized to funnel as much money into the pockets of shareholders and CEOs as possible. And frankly, that's just symptomatic of how the modern economic system is administered. The economy of progress. You know, part of the reason I actually want to get back into my Instagram account that I've been locked out of for 4 years, and I'm being told it's impossible to get back in. One of the reasons I actually want to start using Instagram again is because Twitter, the site I primarily use and post of, is just failing. It is a failing website. Elon Musk, like the smartest man in the world, smartest, richest man in the world, depending on so many people you ask, he can't figure out how to run a site where people just want to goof off and post stupid pictures and make stupid political jokes. He can't figure it out. He has to make Twitter a pay-to-win subscription. And because he laid off half the workforce, and he doesn't have enough engineers to actually build anything worth a shit on the site, he has to justify the cost of paying $8 a month to tweet by removing existing features that used to be free and putting them behind a paywall. It's the paradox of the everlasting light bulb again, folks. We can't have something that just works for free and that people enjoy using. Some money's got to come out of it. There's got to be some kind of revenue stream to justify the $44 billion purchase price. Can you believe this site was valued at $44 billion 18 months ago? Can you believe it? An apparent $44 billion website is now being held together by toothpicks and bubble gum. That's the value of $44 billion in the modern economy. That's the value of $8 a month. You get to read more than 600 tweets a day. You cannot seriously sit there and tell me that the vast majority of products for sale out there in the economy are not getting perpetually worse. Like the light bulb, which is intentionally designed to break and fizzle out after a couple of months, couple of years, even though we have the technology to make them last forever. They just won't. You on the ground, you boots on the ground consumer, you're not going to experience any of the actual technological progress. You're going to experience some bastardized, corrupted version of something that should be fully functional. And you're going to get something that's maybe 10% as effective at doing its actual job. You know, this is going to sound like a stupid, pedantic rant, as if we haven't been doing it already. But one of the reasons I was inspired to make this video was because of some deodorant I bought. This brand of deodorant, natural deodorant that I like. I had like a big pack of it from Costco that I used for like a couple of years, and then it ran out, so then I had to buy a new one. So I get the new one. The packaging's a little different, but it's supposedly the same product. I get the stick of the new one, hold it up to the stick of the old one, and all the progress and research and development they made in the last 2 years was figuring out how to make it smaller and how to raise the price and how to rearrange some of the ingredients around. That's progress for you. That's modern day progress. They figured out how to make the deodorant a little bit smaller, how to give you a little less while also raising the price. That's where all that research and development money goes to. Figuring out how to screw the consumer even more. Because man, when it comes to corporate strategy to just squeeze more income out of the consumer and provide even less of a product, man, we are living in the future. We are living in the Jetsons world. We're living in Futurama when it comes to corporations' ability to just squeeze a little bit more profit, funnel a little bit more profit into the corporate shareholders' seventh yacht. Well, I hope the yacht is still good, because the consumer products for everyone else here that doesn't have millions and billions of dollars of disposable income, the products for us, they're not progressing. I can tell you that. They figured out how to make the deodorant smaller. Can you believe it, folks? They figured out how to make me only see 600 tweets a day and have to pay to see the same amount of tweets I used to be able to for free for 10 years. It's so much progress that I want to use my Instagram account with my username that I made. And I'm being told it's impossible to get back in. It's impossible. We used to do the impossible. We used to actually say that difficult challenges were impossible, and then we'd actually figure them out. It is literally more of an impossibility for me to get back into my Instagram account that I own than to put a human being on the moon. One of these things is less likely to happen. Is that progress? We used to just be told that very difficult scientific achievements were impossible, then work towards them and do them. And now in the 21st century, the most mundane, simple tasks are impossible. They've literally become impossible. The simplest thing. Just find a human being at Instagram to send me a password reset email, just get me back into my account that I own. And it can't be done. It can't be done. We have made the most mundane, simple requests impossible in modern society. Boy, I really feel like things are progressing. All this money. How much money gets dumped into the economy? How much money in venture capitalist funds, regular retail investor funds, government funds get dumped into these programs that get touted as something as influential as the invention of air travel? 600 tweet rate limit a day. That's progress as influential as air travel. And how much more money do we as consumers have to pay for the product to just keep getting worse? Because this is just what the economy is now. Just make the products worse. Eventually, every product, every service reaches the maximum saturation point of its carrying capacity, of the people who are actually willing and interested to use it and consume it and buy it and pay for it. Eventually, the flow of people using the product slows down, but you still got to get the profit from somewhere. The flow of dollars from people is not coming in as much, but you still got to extract that money from somewhere. So the only solution left is to just make the product worse. Make it out of cheaper material, like those awful, crappy Ray-Ban sunglasses that sounded like opening up a pack of Fritos by putting them on my face. Get a crappy water heater that's supposed to last 20 years and breaks down after 18 months. Crappier materials, cheaper labor. If you're running a service, you just pay for half the workforce or even less than that and pay them less versus the rate of inflation. So they're just miserable and disgruntled and don't even want to provide any good job for a service that's being provided. Is this progress? Going to every single fast food place now and the food takes 20 minutes to come out because no one's working, because there's no employees anymore, because these companies raking in record profits don't want to pay for the same amount of employees that there were 10 years ago? You may call it progress, and the mainstream media and politicians, venture capitalists or whatever, will look at the stupid line chart of profitability and say that this is progress. This is progress in society. This is somehow making the lives of everyone better than the lives of yacht builders better. And I'm sure even the yachts are crappier today. If that gets you an idea of what I've come to expect from the extreme dysfunction of the products and services that we have to interact with on a regular basis to live. You know, it's funny, I was on an airplane just yesterday, and I started watching the show Seinfeld. And there's an episode in Seinfeld where Jerry and Elaine are on the same flight, and Jerry's in first class, and Elaine gets sent back to coach economy class. I think this was an episode that was produced in around 1992, 1993, and it's supposed to present this comical situation of how crappy economy class flying is. If you look at the set they use in that episode, it looks better than first class flying today. How they portrayed economy class in 1992 comedically, trying to present it as a crappy, aggravating situation for Elaine. It looks better than first class on airplanes today. The amount of room they have, like the quality of the seats, it looks better than what we have today. And yesterday, in the middle of my flight, it rained on me. Mysterious brown liquid from the top of the plane. It rained on me from inside the aircraft. Like, this is a situation so preposterous, they couldn't even put it in Seinfeld, because people would think it's too ridiculous. But it happened to me in real life in 2023. Is this progress? Getting brown mystery water rained on me in the middle of the aircraft? In the middle of a flight where I'm just stuck there and I have to shelter down like it's the Blitzkrieg in World War II to protect myself from this mystery water that's coming out of the top of the aircraft. I'm so glad we're living in the future, where just everything works and every single aspect of the economy isn't just riddled with massive amounts of dysfunction. Products aren't designed to just break down and gradually degrade over time. I'm sure the Wright brothers are really proud at the rest of the progress we've accomplished since their lifetimes. I know I'm proud to live in a country and a service economy, a products economy, where nothing seems to work anymore. And everything seems to be getting just a little bit worse every single year. So anyway, the moral of the story is to go follow my new Instagram account at downward_diary on Instagram. I've been forced to capitulate, to just try and make things better. That's all you can do. Just try to swim and tread water upstream while everything else is falling apart. New Instagram account, Downward Diary, I guess at Emperor Lemon. My username that I have no way of getting back. Is just going to be retired. It's just gonna sit there forever with me not being able to log in. And who knows, maybe one day I'll pay for Twitter Blue as well. But, you know, sometime in my lifetime, I'm hoping that science and economics can work out where our society is actually progressing again, and we're not just driving around in circles.
Maybe you got a serotonin problem, or whatever the fuck they call it, you know?